Yes, we're back. Roshfooco watches and things in the house. And look what it is today. It is the Invicta Pro Diver 90940B. The blue version of the best-selling and polarising Pro Diver 8926 OB. I think the OB designates this bezel here because there is one that has a like an omega style scalloped edge design. I have owned both the 8926 and obviously this 9094. 8926 hit the dust after a modding disaster. It did actually have a few movement issues as well, but the fact that that watch is in pieces in my drawer is entirely my fault. Speaking of the movement, it is that ubiquitous Seiko Instruments NH35A. You know the specs, it's hacking and hand winding, 40-hour power reserve, la da 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 da. It's a decent movement. It does have that customized Invicta oscillating weight in the brand colour, that bright yellow, canary yellow brand colour that they have at Invicta. So we're going to go through the specs. I'll talk about how it wears and then a bit of opinion at the end. $40mm, 47.5 lug to lug. It's about 13.5 thick, 20mm lugs. 316L stainless steel bezel, branded case, branded crown, branded screw down case back, branded stainless steel bracelet, the screw down crown, the screw down case back are giving us 200 meters of water resistance, and the bracelet has all solid links, although hollow end links are pretty basic pressed metal clasp that is secured with a fold over. Bezel is 120 click unidirectional dive time bezel with a aluminium bezel insert and a loom pip. Does sound a little tinny, it's got to be said. A little bit wobbly. What's that? Best part of a minute in wobble, I guess. But I mean, it lines up, doesn't it? Crystal on the top of here is a pretty soft mineral that Invicta brand as their own proprietary glass, flame fusion I believe they call it. This one's in pretty good nick, but it doesn't take much to scratch these. It's got a Cyclops which works. And looking a little closer at the dial, I mean, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's deep blue, purple, black in some lights, indigo, fantastic colour, really alluring, sunburst blue, going obviously with the blue aluminium insert, really attractive. Handset is a fairly unimaginative Mercedes handset, and you can see that branded Invicta counterbalance on the second hand. Applied indexes throughout, a triangle at the 12, sticks at 6 and 9. Applied Invicta logo, applied Invicta text underneath that at the 12 o'clock, and then 4 lines of text on the dial. Lume is pretty crap, so let's just turn out the lights and you can see for yourself. A little bit of lume to begin with, but it's not going to last very long. Perhaps at the end of the video I'll put an extended lume shot to see how quickly it fades. Anyhow, considering that I picked this one up a couple of years ago for around £65. You can get them cheaper sometimes in sales or from online dealers, but they're roughly kind of usually 60-70 quid. Certainly if you're buying them in the UK, they're a little more expensive there. The specs are decent. In fact, they're more than decent, aren't they? In fact, they're objectively very good for the price. A Seiko movement, hand winding and hacking, stainless steel construction throughout, 200 meters, water resistant, stainless steel bracelet. You know, I mean, it's a class leader. It's almost leader in its class. And that is something that's not going to go down too well with most people. Going on to fit, well, here it is on my 7-inch wrist, and it fits really well. Obviously, the whole thing is aped from a pre-ceramic Rolex Submariner design, which is timeless for a reason. It works. It's got those thinner lugs from the old school subs. It's got the perfect dimensions. Fits really well. Can't argue with it. You can't argue with it. You might not like the branding, you might not like the brand, but you cannot argue with the fit. That 40mm by 47.5 means you don't have to squeeze it onto an average size wrist. It's not lost on the wrist. It just works really well. I would say that, as you can see, it is a little tall because of the that display case back. It does sit probably 2 or 3 mil taller than it needs to, really. It would seem that these days case backs are a major selling point for lots of watch brands, whether it's a display one to see the movement, or it's another chance to brand the rotor so people can check out the brand, or you have some sort of fancy engraving on the case back. It seems to be a major selling point these days. But of course, look at the back of a Rolex that is plain AF, and perhaps other brands might consider doing that, because that is an unnecessary 2 or 3 mil added to the height of the watch, although it still does wear really quite well. And more subjective stuff, opinions about this, well, obviously the first one is a completely derivative design. I mean, it's almost a one-to-one copy of a Rolex. I think that it's a 16610 rip-off effectively, but it's not. It hasn't got Rolex on the dial, so it's not a rip-off. It is a homage. It is a strong homage, and that obviously means that the design is done by somebody else. You could say that that was a lazy aspect of the manufacture of this watch. On the other hand, all design is derivative. To a greater or lesser extent. I suppose it's all about thought and nuance of design, which this Invicta lacks. Having said that, if you're going to nick a design, then this one's probably the best one to nick. If you have a look around the watch world, you will see many, many examples of homage Submariners. Second thing is the branding. That one on the case, that gets people's goat massively. It's branded 3 times on the dial, once on the crown, a couple of times on the case back, once on the clasp, and once on the side of the case. But they're not the only company to brand the cases. Take a look around, you'll see it. You'll see it from kind of entry stuff from Spinnaker, more mid-range stuff from Squale, which, you know, they get their fair amount of disses online as well. I think I've even seen a Blancpain with branding on the case, so, you know, it's not just Invicta that does that. If you don't like it, fair enough. I don't think it's particularly noticeable, but it's up to you, whatever you want. What I would say about the branding is, here's another one of my favourites. The Helm Kuraburi. Helm on the clasp, and let's just move that hand out of the way. A really unobtrusive Helm logo at a 12, and I've got to say I prefer that, but you know, I've said it before, brands have got a right to stick their name wherever they want. There's also the issue about ridiculous MSRPs on Invicta watches, but you know, I mean, come on, they're not the only brand that plays that silly game. Most watches you buy on the grey market are reduced to a greater or lesser extent, so you know, yes, it is a bit stupid, but all they're doing is playing that game. Third thing, Lume's crap, which is a bit of a waste of time. If you're going to do a diver homage, if it's going to be 200 meters water resistant, at least put some decent lume on there. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's a bit poor. It's a bit weak. It's a bit unthought out. Moving on to the bracelets. I mean, we've already had a look at the bracelet. Yeah, it's got hollow end links, but you know, it's a 65 quid watch. It's got solid links. Subjectively, I don't reckon those polished mid links. I don't see what the point of them is. Just brush it, you know. That is subjective. Yeah, people are going to complain about the clasp. Fair enough, it is a bit wobbly and a bit shit. But let me just grab my helm again. Look at the difference. this is a fully milled out scissor clasp, and it's fantastic. It does the job, but it's huge. And this clasp, for all its weaknesses, is very thin and very unobtrusive, and kind of makes it wear a bit better, really. So let's wrap it up. We've done 15 minutes with an Invicta, which is probably long enough. I'm going to say here that the specs for the price is amazing. The fit is very, very good. If it didn't have a display case back and it was a bit thinner there, it would be equally as amazing on a fit. It's a good watch. It's a good watch. Don't be put off by the haters online. It's a good watch, man. Pick one up for cheap. Wear it out whenever you want. It's a fair shout. Roshfooco Watches and Things. Invicta Pro Diver. I'm out.